everybody? Welcome back to Pop Culture Warrior. I am, of course, CQ, and I am so freaking excited tonight. Oh, I've been looking forward to this one for a while. My guest tonight is an American voice actress who's been a voice for popular radio, television, animation, video games. She was Lucky on the 101 Dalmatians cartoon series. The promo voice for networks like HGTV, the Smithsonian Channel, Investigation Discovery, Starz/Encore. In 2008, she won a Spike Video Game Award for voicing Meryl Silverberg in the Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots and Tsunade in Naruto. So like she's done it all. She's seen it all. She's going to give us a rundown of it all. So everyone, please give a warm welcome for my guest tonight, Miss Debi Mae West.
Yeah. Good evening. It's only 4 o'clock where I am, but 9 o'clock on the East Coast.
It is 9 o'clock on the East Coast, but you are dialing in from, I already forgot the name of it. God damn.
Kauai. I'm on the island of Kauai in the beautiful state of Hawaii.
Oh my God.
And I did just get back from the East Coast though, so I'm kind of tired. I'm a little off kilter, but anyway, it's 4 o'clock here. Aloha, as we say.
And you look wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Like I can tell the bronze is just, you're surfing, aren't you? You do a lot of surfing.
I'm a surfer, but actually, this is kind of as white as I get because it's winter. So yeah, and I'll probably be tanner in about 2 months. But yeah.
Oh man, I just I'm so jealous. I'm just so jealous. I live on the East Coast and. It's rainy and sad and dark.
Well, this is the Garden Island. It's pretty rainy here too. Well, you look great. PQ.
Oh my God, dude, stop it. Okay, let's dive into it because I am so fascinated by your work and what you've done, and you've done so much over an amazing career, and I want to. We don't have enough time to talk about all of it, so we're gonna hit some high points and talk about it. But the first question I ask every guest that comes on: what is your military connection?
Well, the only real, actually two. My cousin Ricky. I don't even know if he's listening. I should have let him know. He was in the Navy. My father, Noble Grover West. I love my dad's name, so I like saying it. Was in World War II, and I actually have these letters from him somewhere in France, getting ready to go into Germany way back when. So, Dad, wherever you are, I hope you're hearing me. So yeah, my dad served, and that's my connection.
Oh, that's beautiful. Noble Grover West.
Noble Grover West.
Wow, that is
And his fantastic. Mother was Mae West, not the actress, but she was from Oklahoma, and my grandmother's name was Mae West, and so that's how I became Debi Mae West. Because I think people often think I made up that name, but I definitely did not.
It's not a stage name, folks. Not a stage name.
That is and it's not name. Debi Mae. It's not hyphenated. It's Debi, but my middle name is Mae. And anyway, thanks for having me. It's really fun to be here.
No, of course. Are you kidding me? We're so excited to have you. And we have a live audience out there. If you guys are watching, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, wherever, just know we are live right now. So if you're watching this right now, 9 p.m. Eastern on this Tuesday, March 7th, if you're watching it after
right?
But
4 p.m. Hawaii.
4 p.m. Hawaii. You can chat. Let us know. If you have questions for Debi Mae, please send them in the chats. We have our first question already. I haven't even gotten to my questions. Good. So from Marco on YouTube, he wants to know, do you have any scheduled con appearances coming up in California?
Oh, in California. Not at the moment. I just, I never signed autographs, and this is a whole new thing for me to get out there and meet the fans, and it's been so much fun. I signed autographs here on Kauai in December, and then I went to Shumi in Los Angeles, and I literally just got back from Orlando. I was at Eclectic, and it was awesome. I actually named a baby. I had people crying and weeping. It was so much fun. I was with the 3 Sanin for the first time ever from Naruto, if you're familiar with the series. But right now I'm on my way to Seattle. Next week I'm going to be doing Unlock the Con, and that's just going to be an appearance of me. We're having a VIP breakfast, and I don't know when I'm coming back to LA, but probably will be in San Diego at Comic-Con this year. But I'll be back there. I'm from Los Angeles, so that's my hometown. And even though I live on Kauai now, so yes, I will be in LA. And if you follow me at Debi Mae West on Instagram, you will know everything and when. So hi, Marco. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, and if you're not following her, first of all, how dare you? How dare you?
How dare you if you're not following me?
If you're not following, because it's entertaining. It's entertaining. And you recently started a TikTok too. I know there's a couple videos on there.
Well, yeah, I haven't done a lot of that. My nephew's actually helping me. He's so incredible. He's doing all my social media with me, and he's doing some cool stuff. So yeah, I'm starting out doing a little TikTok, but Instagram has been where I've been sitting mostly.
Nice. Hey, have you? Because I know you're relatively new to the con circuit and the appearance circuit. Are you getting a bit of the bug for it? Are you getting like? Is there still hesitation? Is it apprehension, or are you like getting into it?
I gotta tell you, so my Instagram used to be "Don't Be a Stranger, Yo," and I just changed it when I got my first con appearance signed up. And I love people. I love meeting people. I am the friendliest person you'll ever meet. In fact, I got some really sweet notes from people that said, "Oh my God, you were so genuine and real." So I think I do have a little bit of the bug right now because I'm ready, and I wasn't for a while. I'm a very shy, extroverted person. If you can be those two things, I am both. So, but once I'm out there and I'm meeting people, I love it. So yeah, I have the bug and I'm excited, and I've got 3 appearances coming up, and hopefully I'm going to get out there and do it.
Awesome.
And meet as many people as I can. Spread some love.
I love it. I love going to conventions. We talk about it all the time. It's a whole nother world. There's such a good vibe. There's such a good energy. The people are genuinely sweet and excited to be there. Another question in the audience: are you married?
I'm actually not married, but that lets me shout out to my boyfriend who's listening, Brent, and his boy Kieran, who's turning 12 tomorrow and gets to go surfing in New Zealand. So if you guys are listening, I'm shouting out. But no, I'm not married. I've never been married ever in my whole life, and I don't know if I ever will be.
Sorry,
Is
guys.
that okay? Am I still lovable?
Sorry, guys. She's off the market right now. Just keep your eye out, just in case. We got people ready to swoop in. So,
is someone ready to get down on a knee? I've never understood that either. So, if you want to propose to me, please don't get on a knee.
So it's okay for them to propose on you, just not on a knee. That's the thing.
Yes, just not on a knee.
Be creative, guys. You got to be creative. That's how we're gonna do this. We're gonna sneak attack her.
Or else you'll get one of these. That's my lady tsunami.
So this is obviously it's a pop culture show. We talk about everything: movies, TV, video games, all the stuff, all the things you've been a part of.
Yeah.
What is it that you geek out about? Like, what gets you excited, right?
Gosh, I'm a geek about surfing, to be honest. I started surfing very late in life. And I'm old, and I started surfing at 51 years old, and I just started going all over the place. So I went to Bali, I went to Panama, I went to Mexico 5 times, I came to Kauai. Where else did I surf? Australia. So I'm a geek about surfing. It is the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I can't believe I waited so long to start doing it because I grew up near the beach in Los Angeles. But that's what I'm a geek about. And I'm a geek about spreading love too. I'm a total geek about joy. People call me a joy generator. My friend Joe Smith, we have a joke. I'm a joy generator. So I'm a geek about dancing. I threw a lot of dance parties. I love to dance. And so I'm a geek about love and happiness and enjoying life and surfing.
That's so good. I love it.
I'm not a geek about video games, weirdly.
I'm so beat red just from smiling so hard. This is great. You're amazing. I love it. Are there any? I always like to give a person, obviously you have a platform, you have a following. So I always like to give an opportunity if there's any charities you support or any organizations you want to shout out or anything you want people to look at. I want to give you the floor to talk about that.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm actually the voice of a podcast called Our Epic Ocean. And actually, this is a great segue because I just started reading an article and about Funko Pops that are being thrown away in masses. And so I haven't really looked that deeply into it, but I have to say I am a proponent of stopping plastic pollution. So if you're interested in learning about our epic ocean, you can tune into that podcast and you'll hear my voice at the beginning. And they have guests every single week. He has guests teaching us about how to save the ocean. And I live near the ocean, so I'm really nervous about it, about what's happening to the planet. So I threw a party for 10 years called Family Affair. It was the greatest party on earth. We took over the Standard Hotel downtown LA. Cinco de Mayo, and we had 10 DJs a day, and we raised money for different ocean organizations. So Surfrider Foundation. Oh my gosh, I'm not remembering my friends. I'm going to try to find it while we're here. But yeah, I'm a huge proponent of saving the ocean and saving the planet and all of us, because who knows what's going to happen. But what I really want to put out there is if there are any artists listening that can take the plastic Funko Pops and make art out of it. Like someone could make a giant Funko Pop out of the baby Funko Pops instead of throwing them into the landfill. So I just want to put out a task, and maybe we can start something together here, CQ, tonight. Let's see who wants to be involved in this art project, and let's get in touch with Funko so that these little babies, look at my cute little new Funko Pop. This is my Tsunade Creation Rebirth AAA anime. And I don't want these plastic dolls going into the landfill. So what can we all do together? There's my 2 cents on that.
No, absolutely. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. It was an article where they talked Funko. I mean, we all love it. I have a few myself. We love supporting our favorite characters and all in these shows and whatnot. But Funko kind of overproduced, and something like $38 million worth of Funko Pops are being put into landfills by and that's not counting the people that bought them and then for whatever reason got rid of them or anything like that. So this is just excess Funko Pop pollution, we'll call it, a runoff.
That's funked up, isn't it?
Oh, you're good at this.
That is funky.
I can see why you do radio and podcasts and things like that. You got this. You got this down. But yeah, so I absolutely huge support. Like I behind you 100%. I love to scuba dive, so I'm all about the ocean and keeping it clean. And because when you've been down there, like you've been on the board, I've been inside the water. It's a whole nother world. It's a whole nother plane of existence.
Beautiful world.
And they don't need us messing it up. Like we mess up enough as it is.
Don't.
We don't need to mess up their world. There's a question that came in. It says, do you have an Eric Arakawa board, best Hawaiian board maker?
No, I do not. I'm actually surfing on a board, Bob Pearson longboard right now, and Mark Angel here in Kauai made me a board, and I have like 5 surfboards, and I actually just broke my nose on New Year's Eve, and luckily it is healing because I didn't have a nose job, but I got freaking blammed right here, and I thought my nose was sticking out of the side of my face. I was gushing blood. It was awful, but no, are you going to send me one of those boards? Who's questioning that?
Mike in the chats.
Mike,
you owe her a board, apparently.
I want a board.
Yeah. So excellent.
Anyway, what else you got?
So yeah, no, absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit more about you. I'm curious. I'm always curious before we get into like the back catalog of your work. I want to know a little more about you as far as like who you were. Obviously, you said you come from LA. What were the early years? What were the young years? What was before you got into the business? Who was Debi Mae West?
Debi Mae West was an 80s Valley girl. They basically, I was one of the girls that Frank Zappa and Moon Unit Zappa probably wrote the song about because I hung out at the Galleria. Oh my God. And I grew up in LA. I was a beach girl. I was a skateboarder. And I saw as many live shows as anyone could possibly see. So I still have every ticket to every concert that I ever went to since, I won't say the date, but Yes and Donovan was my first concert ever. I've seen every rock show. I was really into jazz I was into progressive jazz when I was in high school and rock. And so I went to like every show. And my original dream was to be a rock star. I went to a jazz school. And actually, if any of you have ever watched The Voice, the Paul Merkovich, who's the piano player and does all the music on The Voice, he was my boyfriend when we were young. For like a year and a half, we dated, and we were both in this incredible music school. And I got to sing with a 40-piece big band and a 20-piece big band. And I sang at Disneyland and got to record with a huge jazz orchestra. So that was incredible. And so I was on the trajectory to become a rock star. That's what I wanted to do. And but I had a lot of problems. As you can hear, I have a really scratchy voice. And so every time I would sing live, I would kind of lose my voice and get hoarse on stage. And so I just kind of went in a different direction, and I was waiting tables just like every other person. I never wanted to be an on-camera actor really per se, but I was always around the business. And a good friend of mine at one point just was like, hey, have you ever thought about doing voiceovers? And it was back when, like 35 years ago, when women weren't really in the field yet, but Demi Moore had just broken. And Terry Apple was, she was the voice of, it was either Home Depot or, I don't know, she was like one of the first women to really break it open. And Pamela Siegel and Pamela Adlon, and just very few women. So that I wanted to be a rock star, and it kind of led me into becoming a voiceover actor. Thirdly,
so one way or the other, you ended up on the microphone. You know what I mean?
I did. That's true. And I was so I was in a world peace organization called SGI, and so I was auditioning to sing solo at Madison Square Garden. And I remember writing down, like, because we had to make a declaration in order to part of our audition. And I declared that I was going to use my voice, and I was going to touch people all over the world with my voice and create world peace somehow, and love with my voice. And so I thought it was singing, and then somehow I went into voiceover. So, and I think a lot of people have heard my voice over the years.
I would say
like 35 years now.
I took a look at your IMDb page and all the work you've done, and definitely, I know I have, and so many other people have definitely heard your voice in a lot of different places. And in fact, stepping into your career a bit, I went as far back as I could find, and I saw you got a little credit in The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1996.
I did.
You have
remember.
There's a musical. It was a song that
was
you might have
animated.
Yes, it was the animated the Disney classic Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I think you're credited with some work on one of the songs. But your first real kind of work was TV Sailor Moon. You did 10 episodes of Sailor Moon.
That was so before that, if I can go back, it was a really cool story, so I'd love to share it.
Please.
I was in a band called Steve's Main Squeeze. I used to wear a tutu and an electric tambourine. I played floor tom, and I was an accordion band, and my boyfriend at the time was a guitar player, and I was we sang all harmonies. And so Pamela Adlon was a friend of a friend, and she came to hear us. And I remember sitting with her having a drink, and I was like, hey, like, how do I get into voiceovers? Because I knew she was really becoming a star at that point. Now she's a huge star. She was Bobby on King of the Hill, and now she has her own series that she wrote and created. And she's like one of the people I bow down to. And that night she said, it's really, really tough. And now I understand, because people call me and ask me, how do I break in? I don't know what to say, because it's such a difficult field to break into now more than ever. But at the time, it was like a pretty small group of maybe 5,000 people around the country were doing voiceover at that time. And so she sort of just said, I don't think it's going to happen. And I had had a reoccurring dream my entire life that I was trying to get on Space Mountain, because I loved Disneyland and I was never getting on the ride. And so it took me about 7 months when I finally got an agent. I booked one little anti-smoking commercial. And then one day I was a waitress, and the next day I was not. And I never looked back. I became the voice of Safeway grocery stores. That was actually my first big job. And then I actually became the voice of Pamela Adlon. I matched her voice as Lucky in 101 Dalmatians because she had a baby and left the show. And as much as I did not think that I could do it, my agent at the time said, I know you can match this voice and I want you to do it. And I did. And so I booked the voice of Lucky in 101 Dalmatians. And I think they may have even put her voice back over mine on some of the episodes because I was so bad and it was such a hard job. And I would go home crying because I was working with like April Winchell and Tara Strong and Frank Welker and like the top people in animation. And I was as green as you could be. And, but anyway, that was my first big gig. And so that was back in in 93 or 94, I think.
Okay. And I saw the 101 Dalmatians. You're credited with 45 episodes. 45 episodes playing Lucky. I played Lucky. It was amazing. And she was I remember this was the audition. You got any idea what it's like to have 98 brothers and sisters? And that was the line. And that was one of her lines. And I practiced it and I practiced it. And I just thought it was amazing. But then I had the dream and I got on Space Mountain. And but yeah, and I did a lot of animation the first years. But then I really broke into promos. And I don't know. My dad passed away in 1999, and I had a health scare, and I decided, fuck this. I'm gonna go to New York. And my agents were like, "What are you doing?" Because I was the voice of Mervyn's at that time, and I was just, I had so many commercials running. And back in the 90s, like the whole world of voiceover was so different. And the careers that we all had and the friendships and the bonds and just the opportunities that we have were extraordinary. And so I decided to go to New York and try it. And I couldn't make anything happen there. And then there was this huge strike and I came back to LA. And then I booked a job in New York, and it was, do you remember the show Crossing Over with John Edward? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I was the voice of his show for a few seasons until he got bought by CBS. So when he was on Sci-Fi Channel, I was the voice of Crossing Over with John Edward. And then I was the voice of Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations, for 9 seasons. I did some cool stuff that nobody knows about it. I don't even know if it's on my IMDb. I don't know who creates that stuff. Someone said to me once, "You have a Wikipedia page." And I'm like, "What's that?" I didn't even know what it was, because people create those for us. And I don't really chime in on those. So that's kind of where it all started. Man, you got me all riled up. I'm just like,
yeah, please. No, this is, I always like to think like this interview is the version of like, this is your life. You know what I mean? Like we go through the highs and the lows and talk all about it. I love it. I love when a person, you're obviously have such a great energy about your experience and you such a passion for it, obviously, and are happy with how your career turned out overall. Mm-hmm. So it's always great to have these conversations. Question from the chat from Heath. He wants to know, this is a very classic question we get all the time. What was your first big paycheck purchase? Like that first big paycheck where you were like, oh God, like this is a career. What was your the thing you spoiled?
You know what I did? One of my first agents, Peter Verano, he came in the booth with me one day and he said, "May I give you some unsolicited advice?" And I was like, yes. And the only other unsolicited advice I ever got was from my brother, and he said, "Always wear a seatbelt." And it just stuck with me. So I always freaking wear a seatbelt. But anyway, he said, "Look, you're blowing up. You're going to have a huge career. Don't do what all these actors do. Don't go buy a Porsche. Don't buy a house." He's like, "Get out of fucking debt." And so my first big purchase was writing a check for $18,000 to a credit card company and getting out of debt. And I've never been in credit card debt ever again. I don't recommend it. And it was the greatest thing I ever did. So, and then I saved my money and, and I did purchase a house, but years into my career. And so I am kind of like, I am a money saver and I'm not cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely want to pass that information along to any young actors or when you get that big payday, it doesn't mean the next one's coming, especially in voiceover. I mean, we don't have contracts. We have no idea. I wake up every single day still not knowing what's coming. I mean, I do have a couple of ongoing gigs. I'm the voice of Buzzer Game Show Network, and I'm the voice of Start TV, and I'm the voice of CTV. And I do a lot of stuff for NBC Sports. And so, but none of it is like, hey, this is happening forever. And so the part of being a voiceover actor is really not knowing what's coming next. So I try to save my money to make sure that I have a good future and can live on Kauai.
Yeah, I like that.
It's friggin' expensive.
Somebody's pointing out, I guess
Your
you
question, Heath.
have... Somebody pointed out in the chat's Kaz. In the chat says, you got a lot of moose heads. Is there an obsession maybe?
That's funny. You know what it is? So if you're into Disney at all, Country Bear Jamboree was one of my favorite things, events. It's not a ride, so it's a show. And so, in fact, I was just at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando last Monday, and I went into the Country Bear Jamboree because I think they closed it in LA. I haven't been there in a long time, but they do have it in Orlando. And so the first one was the moose, and it reminded me of, I think it's Melvin. And then my dog is, maybe I should get Hefe. Hefe looks like a baby deer. And so those are all just, heads that I acquired, and it's my little homage to Country Bear Jamboree.
I love it.
And I can sing every song.
One of these days we'll bring you on, we'll challenge you.
That'd be funny.
You've done, excuse me, you've done so much, all right? We're still just barely scratching the surface. And a lot of the work, that you're credited with, obviously outside of the promo stuff and the commercial stuff, is a lot of video game work. I mean, you have an exhaustive list of video games you've worked on, whether they be background characters or supplemental characters or whatnot. But obviously, I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't say one of the first voices you did, 1998, Metal Gear Solid, Meryl Silverberg. I mean, like, that's a home run out the gate. First, basically, your first video game work, and it's a character that still today, some 25 years later, is still highly regarded.
And nutballs.
and also, just in a time, I remember that game. I remember playing that game as a kid. It was a time when you were like video game characters didn't talk. They didn't have monologues and dialogue. They made bleeps and blorps and and things like that. So I mean, it was groundbreaking in so many ways. Do you remember getting that role and then realizing just how much depth there was to that character in that world?
Well, I do remember getting cast in the role. Chris Zimmerman, who is like one of the greatest directors of all time, and she originally cast all of us, and I think we did it. It wasn't PlayStation. I don't even remember the original, but it was. We re-recorded it for PlayStation, and I got to work with the amazing David Hayter, who played Solid Snake, and he's just a genius. And in most video games, you don't work together, and so they had David and I work together. And so it just gave us that depth. And I never really had played video games, so I wasn't aware that this was groundbreaking and that this was going to be something so iconic. I never dreamed that I'd be talking about it 20 some years later. I never dreamed that, I could be in an airport and actually meet some kids in the military that were going off to Iraq at the time in an airport in Miami, and just getting, talking with them, because that's what I do. Don't be a stranger, yo. And I love to hug strangers. And then they asked me what I do, and I told them I was Meryl, and they were freaking out. And, people freak out. I had, at my first signing at Shumi, actually the second one, it was, a Lady Tsunade Naruto signing, but some Metal Gear fans showed up, and this amazing kid showed up with Meryl tattooed on his arm. And I asked him, I asked him why he had my character specifically. And he said, Meryl saved my life. And he said, my sister died of breast cancer, and I was really on the edge of suicide, and that game got me through. And I literally burst into tears. He burst into tears, and we were hugging. And I've had those situations happen several times with not only Meryl, but also now Lady Tsunade. But so just to be this iconic character is really something else. Because I I revere voice actors who are awesome. Oh, there's Hefe. Come here. You guys want to meet Hefe? There are some really awesome animation voiceover actors, and I don't see myself as one of them. This is Hefe, my baby dear, and he loves me very much. And so that I was chosen out of the hundreds and hundreds of women who could have played Meryl is just astounding. But I really do think that it was because I set that intention before I sang at Madison Square Garden that I was going to touch people all over the world with my voice, and I have. And so that is not bragging. That's just me being so grateful. And it could have been anyone. There are a lot of great voiceover chicks out there. And so thank you to the, whatever it is, whatever angels have been with me. Yeah. Did I answer the question?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love it. No, I could sit here and listen to you talk about it all day. And so my other thought when looking at a character like Meryl is that at the time you voice her, technology it's making leaps and bounds, right? We, like I said, this was really the first time where games were really like starting to pump in like storylines that are actually acted out.
Yeah.
To say that the character design was very polyagnical, like it was just a lot of like blurry, weird. We've now in 20 years, and especially since Metal Gear has been such a big franchise and has released part 2 and part 3 and part 4 and part 5, we've gotten to see that character better designed. Is it weird? Like, what are your thoughts about seeing the physical design of your voice kind of change throughout the years?
I haven't seen any of the newest versions. So if anyone wants to send me some pics, that would be great. So, I mean, actually,
kind of looks like
toy,
that.
I've had this toy for a long time. I know there was an older version, and I have some pictures of the original. It's so funny. I lost the gun. Collecticon last weekend, a guy had this doll, and I said, "Oh my God, I lost the gun," and he gave me the gun, and so I have to go find it because she's got like a really hot rifle. But anyway, I haven't really seen that they've changed her. So have they updated Meryl? Is she looking different?
No, it's more or less like that. But just the idea that, like, in 1998 when it came out on, I think it was the PlayStation 2. I mean, right. She had like a square head.
That was the original Xbox. I just remembered.
Okay.
So. She had a square head.
Yeah, she had like a triangle hair and a square head. So it's such a crazy thing to see, like I think like Pokemon, where the original Game Boy games, they were these little blurbs and blobs, to now they're these fully fleshed out 3D animated, things. So I think what a cool, you really got to see, I guess, the change in technology just based off your own character, right? How yes. Technology has progressed, but that's okay. Another big one. Oh, sorry, no, go ahead, please.
No, go ahead. No. I was just going to say I'm not a technology nerd at all. Yeah. So
I tell you what, I'm going to put together like a slide deck of how Meryl has looked throughout the different video games.
A codec?
Yes, a codec, if you will. So you can see just how much that character has changed over the years. It's mind-boggling.
I love that.
So admin, take a note. We're going to do that. Another huge franchise that you're a part of, before we even get into Naruto, is World of Warcraft. I know a lot of people who recognize your voice as Maeve, Shadow Song in World of Warcraft, and again, is it one of those things? I know you're not a gamer by any stretch of the imagination, but were you aware of kind of like where it stood in
what was culture? Coming with World of Warcraft?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still it's Maeve, Shadow Song, and I actually still am currently playing her voice. And I'm actually about to do a session in a couple of weeks. So it's funny because she started out with an Irish accent, I remember. And I heard like an older version of it. And now she's like this. Whoa! I mean, she's nuts. She's a very intense voice. And again, iconic. The only other con that I ever went to prior to my first one last weekend at Collecticon, or the weekend before, was BlizzCon. as my Shadow Song, and it was the girls of Warcraft, like it was the hot chicks in World of Warcraft. We were all interviewed, and that was such a trip for me because my Shadow Song, she's not hot. I mean, she's like a crazy wild beast who locks up Illidan, and so the fans, when they were coming down the line, they were like into the blonde chick with the big boobs and the blonde hair, and like people were just kind of like, oh, I like your character, but I sat there sort of lonely, like, oh my god, but she's intense and she's iconic and she's a big part of that game, and I'm super proud that I was again chosen by Blizzard to be Maya of Shadow Song, and I'm still her, like she's still alive. I would love it if Metal Gear would bring me back. I think Meryl definitely. I want to be in like the live action version, like. I want to be like in the shadows somewhere. I don't know.
We can make it happen, man. We could do some, what was it, like fan fiction, the fan made film, and bring it into live action. A question from the audience. Does Debbie ever get recognized when she's out and about?
I've only been recognized by my voice and not my face. I was buying tickets to a concert. I used to be on a show on KCRW, which is a worldwide radio station that I've been one of the main voices of for over 20 years. But I was on a show called The Other Side with Joe Frank. And you're probably too young, but maybe there are listeners out there. Joe Frank was a radio god who told stories and would put music behind, and he would sort of interweave dramatic pieces that he wrote, and then he would have phone conversations, or he would have a Buddhist monk espouse wisdom, and it was really all over the place. And I was one of the characters on that show, but it was me. It was Debi Mae West talking on the phone with my friend Joe Frank, and I told sex stories, and it was a trip. I told stories about all my boyfriends, and one day I was buying tickets, and this guy was like, "Are you Debi Mae West?" I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh my God, I listen to you on Joe Frank. I'm such a big fan." And that is the only time in my whole life that anyone's ever recognized me. So yeah, I don't think I ever recognize. I mean, my voice is recognizable, but not my face.
Sure.
Which is great.
This is a question from the audience that I'm pretending. Where can we find the sex stories from Debbie?
Oh, Joe Frank. The Other Side. They're out there.
Other Side, Joe Frank. Not for me. Yep. Not for me. Just for the listeners. That I know these guys are. They're
pretty funny. My friend Josh had known me for years, and he discovered them and listened to all of them, and he was like, "How come you've never told any of your friends that you were on Joe Frank?" And I was like, I'm the voice of American Airlines. I don't fucking tell people. Hey, knock it up. Hey, come here. He does not like the mailman.
I bet. None of us do. So a question from Joe in the chats said, you've done a lot of smaller console game voices, and then you've done these like massive franchises like Metal Gear Solid and World of Warcraft. Is there a difference? Could you break it down if there's a difference in how you approach those roles or how they record or anything like that?
My approach to a role is like this. I get hired. Well, first I audition. I get hired. You walk in, and if you haven't signed an NDA, basically swearing you to secrecy, you walk in and see a script for the first time. So I usually know nothing about the game. I know nothing about what's going on. I do not get to really develop a character unless it's something like a Metal Gear, because I got to play her over and over and over. And so, I just really try to approach it in the moment. And usually if there's a great director, and I've worked with the best, they'll get me where they need to get me. And it's really just make believe, you're just kind of playing, you're like in the game. And, being in a voiceover booth is a great experience because you can just like create a world. And hopefully if you have a great imagination, you can just get yourself where you need to get. But it's not that deep, really. It's deep in that moment, and it can become a deep experience. But As a voice actor, I just have to reach in and find memories or find experiences or how I can relate to the character. But usually in a game, you don't really know where it's going or what your role is or if you're going to die. I mean, players, your character might be involved briefly and you're gone, or you might ride off into the sunset with the bison with Solid Snake if you win and Meryl lives.
Oh God, that's so good. So I mean, we'd be remiss we didn't talk about you Naruto, and obviously how big of a hit that is, and you've done 241 episodes as Tsunade, and like I'm always fascinated by this because I can imagine if you get hired, hey, we're creating this show and it's a cartoon about whatever bears and cars and whatnot, and you're the voice, whatever it is, it's an original thing we're doing. It's a whole nother beast to say, hey, here's this cartoon that's already been done, and we need you to now dub over this voice while still retaining the essence of the character and the, all the eccentricities and whatever of what that character has. Is that more challenging to then dub over something that exists?
Well, and by the way, you left out, and her boobs will get bigger and bigger as the years go by.
Yes.
I don't even know if that's the biggest one. I saw a meme the other day, her boobs were like as big as a room. It's unbelievable. So, okay, Lady Tsunade, Naruto, first of all, I didn't know what Naruto was. I'm going to kill my dog real quick. Hey, hold on one second.
Sure. Bye.
Come here.
By all means.
You got to stop.
The
mailman is here, but you can still hear me. He does not like the mailman at all. So anyway, one of the first scenes that I had to do portraying her was bawling my head off, basically. And Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, also incredible director. She played Lady Tsunade, I think maybe in the first game. So I'm not sure why probably because she was going to direct hundreds and hundreds of shows. Oh my God, my dog is just going to go kill this mailman. Anyway, she had to get me to a deep place. And I also had a lot of loss in my life. I lost 3 brothers. And so it wasn't that hard to get me to crying, losing my lover and my brother in the show. So again, I had no idea how many episodes it was going to be. I had no idea. I think it's been 18 years since I've been playing Lady Tsunade, that I would now, have a doll. I actually have 3 Funko Pops that I would get to name babies, that women would cry when they met me. I had no idea. And again, you never really are thinking about that when you get cast, and especially it's an anime dubbing job, which is a terrible job. It pays nothing. People think that, we're like making all this money, and the dubbing contract that SAG wrote for dubbing animation was like the worst paying job in the voiceover field, besides maybe books on tape. And so it was just fun. I mean, Jamie Simone cast me. I loved him. I always wanted to work at Studiopolis. I was just like, oh, cool. I'm going to do a Japanese anime series. I had no idea what was coming. I didn't really know the storyline at all of Naruto. And now I do know quite a bit. And it's pretty amazing what I know, because she's even more iconic than I think people who watch the show know, because the real story of the 3 Sannin is from the 1800s. It's an old Japanese folklore, a book that was written about Jiraiya and Tsunade and Orochimaru. And so Naruto is based on that. And I didn't even know that until a month ago. So, I had to match flaps as best as I could, because you have to watch the mouth, and you have to turn Japanese into English. And so the people that are behind the scenes doing that are incredible, because Japanese and English are nowhere near each other in language. And so to create the story and make, my mouth, my voice, and then act at the same time, it was definitely challenging, but I love shit like that. And it was super fun. I love playing Lady Tsunade because she's just me. Like, people go, oh, do her voice. I'm like, well, I am. because it's just me. And she loves drinking and gambling, and she's a badass. And I love her. And I'm so happy that I'm Lady Tsunade.
Yeah, and again, we touched on it a little bit earlier too, where it's a job where tomorrow they could be like, yeah, we're gonna go with a different. You know what I mean? The animation's going to be the same, but we just need a different voice. And so the fact that you've been voicing her across mediums, from the cartoons to the movies to the video games, doing it for 20 years, just about, like, what an how few people, the Simpsons characters, like, how many people get to voice a character for 20 years?
That's amazing.
That's
those
amazing.
Guys, now those guys are like the gods of animation. Totally.
Right.
The gods.
And speaking of Lord Jiraiya, we had David Lodge on a couple weeks ago.
Oh my goodness.
What a character.
That guy. Oh my gosh. We got to be together. So David and I have known each other for a long time. We were at the same agency. So I've been doing voiceovers for 35 years. So I've had to have known him for 30 years. And I never got to see him when we were doing, maybe we like crossed paths coming in and out, because you never worked together doing the anime ever. And so we tried to figure out last weekend, when was the last time we saw each other? And it had been a long time, but that guy is great. He's actually been my mentor, getting me on the circuit here and helping me out. And, because it's a lot going on the road to sign autographs. So I love that guy, Lord Jiraiya. He's so funny. He made these bumper stickers that said, "I love Jiraiya." And so I have one on my ass at the con, and so people were in line to see him, and I'd be like, "I love Lady Tsunade, love Jiraiya," and it was quite silly and fun.
You gotta have fun, wherever you can find it, have some fun.
I know. I was thinking of a bumper sticker for Tsunade. I have giant boobs.
They only get bigger with time. That's
oh my God. She's like a fine wine. They get bigger with time.
So again, with the way characters change, we're talking about it with Meryl, but you can almost see like, well, where the time's at, and you can measure it.
Here's a really cool, this is a Lady Tsunade that someone did for me. Look, she's an angel. But look, she's got some cleavage there. But this is by a person named Morlack, who did this for me and sent it to me on Instagram. And I'm so grateful. But yeah, what else? What else? To have a few more minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to hold you too long.
This is my cat doll from Max Steel. I don't know if anyone saw Max Steel back in the day. I think they redid that. But yeah, I was the voice of the Winter Olympics this year. That was amazing. That was like one of my biggest dream come true jobs ever. Yeah, so I'm not doing a lot of video games right now. Like I said, I'm still doing World of Warcraft, but I'm just here in my little home studio in Kauai, and I wake up every morning and do my auditions and then try to go for a surf. And now I'm going to go on the road and meet some people. And it's a good time. And also it's a trippy time. I'm just amazed. And again, back to that plastic thing, I'd really love to create a game for your listeners and watchers. If we can figure out who could make a giant art piece or melt it and turn it into something, I don't know, Funko Pop dolls must become something other than trash, right?
I agree.
What are you going to do, CQ?
I agree.
Did anybody respond at all? Did we get the artist?
There was a couple of things and comments about, they don't want to find. There's an old story about when, what company was it? Atari had made E.T. the video game. This is going back 35, 40 years. And it was one of the worst games ever made. And they had made so many copies because of the popularity of E.T., but nobody bought them. And so there was this big conspiracy that they had dug a giant hole and hundreds of millions of copies of the E.T. video game had been buried. So somebody was bringing that up in the chats earlier. It's the E.T. fiasco all over again. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like that, we need to figure out something to do. Because obviously, I'm a huge collector of those kind of things. But we can't be filling landfills with this stuff. It's just not right. Let me ask you, now that you've had a couple of convention experiences, because again, I frequent conventions myself, and I've seen things and I've heard things. Any crazy fan interactions? Any crazy convention stories yet that you can share?
I mean, it was kind of crazy that I wish I could remember her name. I'm gonna look it up. But so there's a Funko and Sons is a store, and I think they are in New York, perhaps, but I could be wrong. And the other day, I went over and met them, and I don't even know how I met them, but they were excited, and they actually gave me. I was waiting for my Funkos to arrive because my friend was driving my Funkos from Miami to Orlando for me to sign them, and so they gave me one of these so I could have it, and then I ended up just making friends with them, and Lord Jariah made friends with them, and we were over there doing videos and at their little stand. And then the wife asked me to name her kid. And she was like, I want Lady Tsunade to name my baby. And the baby's in utero, and she has this little boy named Kai that just became my best friend. And we went everywhere together, all over the con. And I don't remember the name. It was Levi something or something Levi. And I was like, oh, Levi, no doubt. And so she's like, that's it. We're naming it Levi. And she sent me a picture of the sonogram the next day. So I got a picture of her baby in utero, and I got to name a baby. So that was kind of the craziest so far. Oh no, one more crazy.
Please.
When I did a signing at Shumi, a guy came all the way from Mexico to Alhambra, and I don't know if any of you know how far that is, but it's crossing the border to get out of Mexico, Tijuana, through San Diego, through all of Southern Cal, like Orange County, to Alhambra to meet me. And he was late and missed me, and I already gone. So the guy that owns Shumi, Nia, called me, and he was like, this guy, what should I do? And I said, FaceTime. So I did a FaceTime with this guy. His girlfriend was in the car, and they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you drove from Mexico to meet me. So that whole thing is crazy. Fandom is crazy. Fandom is wild. I'm amazed that people want to come and meet me. And so if I can, give them a fun time, and I'm trying. I definitely don't want to like catch people's stuff, but I am a hugger. So if you come see me, I will probably hug you. And I'm crazy, so it's all gonna be crazy.
Last question I have for you, and then we'll let you go. What's maybe something that some work that you did that you're super, super proud of, but it's not as popular as the Narutos or the World of Warcraft or the Metal Gear Solid, but just, maybe a show you did, a voice thing you did, just something that you want more people to see?
I mean, I have to say that
35 years, doing this.
being the voice of the Olympics. So I launched the Olympics network, and so they had a 24-hour channel of all old Olympic stuff, and I launched that network, and I was the voice of that network. And then the game several years ago, they ended up using a man, but my voice was in the mix. And because the music, I just always had this dream that I was going to read to that music. And so this winter, I was the voice I got to read every morning for 2 weeks to that music. And it was a dream come true. And I was so proud. And I just got a really nice note that, I'm still involved. I still do promos for NBC, Peacock for USA, because they do all the sports stuff. And so I would say that's probably one of the things I'm the most proud of. And also that I was the voice of Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations, for 9 years. And I, rest that guy's soul. I'm so sad that he left in the way that he did. But just, I've done so much stuff that no one knows about. If you're flying the friendly skies of American Airlines, you will hear my voice, because I tell you to put your damn tray table up and make sure your stuff is stowed under the seat in front of you.
Just like that too. Put your dang stuff up.
Put your dang stuff up. But there's stuff like that that will never appear in my IMDb. And I've done a lot of cool shit, I gotta say. And I'm so happy that you asked me to be here so that I could, brag about it a little bit.
Absolutely.
But I'm beyond the moon grateful for my career. I'm beyond the moon grateful for my life, and that I get to share this. And if I can be an inspiration to anyone, I hope that I can be. And because the world is different, and becoming a voiceover actor is not what it used to be. And so I feel so damn grateful that I I got the lottery ticket and got to be this gal, this girl, and also Ty the Tasmanian Tiger and Naruto. And I mean, I just am lucky. I mean, I'm lucky. So I'm grateful to Pamela Adlon for telling me I could never do voiceovers and challenging me.
That's it. A little motivation, a little kick in the pants that you need.
That's all you need, a little kick in the pants.
One last comment from the chat. They just wanted to go, dang girl, what's your routine? Because you are ripped. It's surfing, right? It's all the surfing.
Yes, it's the paddling. And I used to be more ripped. I'm really trying to get back, man. COVID did to me what it did to everybody. And I gained 10 pounds. But Sergio was my trainer for years. Sergio Peñalosa. I know he's not listening, but I'm going to shout out to him and maybe he'll watch this. So he kind of got me ripped, and surfing is it, man. You're paddling hard, and it's my favorite thing on earth.
Yeah,
you're awesome, CQ. Thank you so much for having me.
So much fun. Go ahead. Your Twitter handles, your Instagram handles. Where can people follow you and show support?
Oh, please follow me. So it's DebiMae West because it's not spelled like Debbie. So at Debi Mae West, DebiMae West on Instagram. I'd love to get a bunch more followers so I know that people are listening tonight. Facebook is private. My Twitter is at Miss Mae West, MISSMAE WEST. And what's my TikTok?
The TikTok.
Debi Mae West? I don't even know.
I just found it today. But thank you, everybody. This Debbie, I mean, come on. She is phenomenal. Go follow her. Go show her some love. I mean, you already love her from all the other things that she does. But I'm sure there's a lot more coming. I'll give you the last.
Let's figure out this plastic thing together.
Thing. We gotta do that.
I dare you guys, get in touch with me. Let's save the Funko dolls.
Let's save them, or just send them all to me. I got space. I'll store a bunch of Funkos.
$39 million.
$39 million worth. All right, Debbie, I'll give you the last 5 seconds to say goodbye to the audience, and then we'll toss to a break.
Hey, I just want to say aloha and in the spirit of Hawaii, from Miss Howley here on the island of Hawaii. Spread love, guys. Make the world bright and shine your star.
Outstanding.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. We'll be back with more right after this. Stay tuned. Shut.